In today's episode, I work here, boss, but I don't work here. You want an email notification of every check-in? Okay, boss. Answer the phone with the company name? Can do. So let's get started. I work here, boss, but I don't work here. Years ago, I worked part-time as a student for a certain car manufacturer. They gave me a work uniform which was fresh, but unmarked and not much else. I added a clipboard and several new pens to my work uniform because I heard other students got fired for bad writing and crimping up all the documents, unable to be digitalized and fed into their system. My job is simple. If the car rolls towards me on the conveyor belt, I rearrange the cables in the correct position, make a note on my clipboard which part and car I had to rearrange, and that's it. So I kept going at it for weeks, often for 8-10 HA shift, and the workers knew my face by now. The only person I had only seen once was a big fat bald man in a suit. I was told it was the manufacturing hall boss of this plant. One day the conveyor belt stopped for an hour. But instead of sweeping the ground as I usually do to not look idle, I took the clipboard and pretended to take notes, when a big bald man rolled up on me from the side. "Boss, you there, come with me." Confused but calm and collected, I pointed at myself, and stood up to follow the red-faced creature that was screaming as loud as a passing train. "Boss, who else could I mean this way? Now." I followed him while he stomped down the belt line as if in hope to magically get it back to running. Then he abruptly stopped. Several workers I knew looked in surprised, and in curiosity what a simple student working part-time could have done to enrage the boss of the manufacturing hall. He then exploded into an endless tirade about technicalities and parts not fitting. Since I am polite, I only tried once to interject how he got the wrong guy, but since he'd interrupted my attempt. Since this subreddit is specially called MC and a few have complained of not feeling the malicious compliance, I am forced to expand on the boss's wording even though I didn't want to, but because I like you guys, I will comply. Enjoy this MC only special edition made only for you 3 dear Redditors. Boss, shut up while I am talking. MC special edition end. So I just did, stood there and smiled to show him I was listening, and he had my full attention, hard not to. This went on for at least 6 minutes, I remember, because I snuck a peek at the timer on how long the belt line had been standing still. Boss, did you get all that? Are we understanding each other? Get on the phone now and call your boss about the replacement parts, this will be on you. Me, sure thing boss, but I don't know your number. Also I don't work in this sector of the manufacturing hall. Boss, visibly confused, what do you do here? Snickering workers in the background. Me, I turn the cables in the proper position, and take a note of the part where, and whenever this was necessary. I am a student part-timer. Boss, oh okay, walks away as if in daze. Addendum, 2 weeks later they stopped extending my contract, and I returned to my studies. According to a worker I kept contact with, my part-time workplace was involved in some drama, as the person they hurriedly hired just copied my documents and left for several hours. He didn't rearrange the cables to ease the workflow of the workers down the line, so someone silently bled for that. Worst of all, he created duplicates for days, in their system, and a few thousands undocumented parts. A regular conveyor belt worker had to sub in there and then add that work to his regular work until they hired a new student weeks later. You want an email notification of every check-in? Okay, boss. This just happened today. I work as an integrated circuit design engineer. My team is mostly based in the Bay Area, but for some reason my current project is being headed up on the East Coast. We haven't met the project manager in person, working remote due to COVID, and it turns out he is a bit more controlling and overbearing than we are used to. Now, chip design isn't the same as software development, but it has some similarities. We use a version control system to check in changes to the design to make sure we can roll back if there are errors or whatever. Works great. In order to keep the database manageable, we typically don't check in too often, only when we make a significant change we want others to be able to see. So like we would do a few check-ins on average normally. Anyway, this new project manager came down with an edict last month that one of our KPIs, key performance indicators, one of the ways they evaluate our performance, will be how many check-ins we do. Predictably, people have started checking in new versions of their designs for every little thing they do, and it has become harder and harder to comprehend how the project is going as the history is all muddled now. The project manager has configured the version control system so he gets an email for every check-in so he can keep tabs on us. During my last one-on-one a few days ago with the project manager, I told him the team didn't want to be evaluated on check-ins anymore because doing too many check-ins is counterproductive, but the guy wouldn't budge. We are getting to the point in the project where we have to start hammering the design with tests to try to find faults. We do this by generating many thousands of files that have test sequences in them. These are called test vectors. Then we run a program that sends our design random samplings of these test vectors. Anyway, for traceability we check in these test vector files in the version control system. So this morning I was on Slack with a few team members, and we come up with an idea. We usually make a zip file of the test vectors to check in once, but there is a performance argument we can make to just check them in individually as raw text. So, cue the malicious compliance. Project manager wants an email from every check-in? Fine. Project manager wants to evaluate us on number of check-ins? Fine. We wrote a script that makes each team member check in a certain amount of the test vectors, tens of thousands for each of us. This will nuke both his KPI results and kill his inbox. Could happen to a nicer bloke. We just launched the script 30 minutes ago. Haven't gotten an email from him yet, presumably because his email inbox has melted down. Answer the phone with the company name? Can do. A while ago I worked at a video store. Every night I did the late list, calling people with overdue movies and games. If they didn't answer the phone I was to always leave voicemail. What frequently occurred after doing the late list was: ring ring. Video store, this is Nutsor. Click. Gore. This happened multiple times every single night. See, it costs to check a voicemail, so I'll just return the call and find out who it was. Why pay to check your voicemail when you could ring back a missed call for free? I don't know if it still costs to check your own voicemail, but it did back then. That same year I disabled my voicemail for that very reason. Pay to check my own messages? No thanks. But I digress. So I thought, okay, I'll just answer politely without the company name and maybe they'll stop hanging up on me. Good evening, this is Nutsor. Hello? Who is this? This is Nutsor. Oh, did you call me? Yeah, I work at video store and you've got an overdue rental. This worked for a while. Until. Good evening, this is Nutsor. Hey, Nutsor. This is boss. Make sure you're using the company name when you answer the phone, okay? Damn. Okay, that's a hurdle. I hate answering the phone and being hung up on, but my boss will catch me if I only say my name. So how do I stop hang-ups, but also comply? You know how annoying it is when you miss a call from a private number? It's annoying because I don't know who it was and I can't call them back, that's it. Time to stare into the abyss. I looked up that I only had to dial 4 numbers on our landline before calling someone to block our number. Nobody would know who was calling them until they answered or checked the message, but technically I was still doing my job. If someone missed the call, their cell phone would say 1 missed call from private number, 1 new voicemail. Would my boss have approved? Absolutely not. If he ever found out, he would have told me to stop because lots of people don't answer private numbers. If they didn't take the call or check the voicemail, they didn't get the reminder, but I had called and left a message, so technically I had completed my task. This way the late list got done, I answered the phone properly, and nobody called and hung up on me ever again. Thanks for watching.